Slower than expected growth in sales of EVs has forced several automakers to take some steps back from their larger-than-life production plans. Ford Motor Company has become the latest company to join that pullback. Ford is currently struggling with the sales of their EVs, and the dealers are even protesting against selling them. The CEO has had to shut down production lines, with the company losing billions as a result. But why can't Ford sell its EVs? And why are the dealers refusing to work with them? The demand for Ford EVs is waning. About half of all Ford dealers across the USA have decided that they won't sell electric vehicles in 2024. In fact, they are outright saying no thanks to Ford. These dealers are the ones that have the inside scoop on what's really happening in the EV market. With their action, they're letting everyone know it's not as rosy as we think it is. They're frustrated by the lack of demand for EVs, even after cutting prices, offering sweet deals, and counting on government incentives. This has caused them to write a letter to President Biden, requesting a pause on the ambitious plan to electrify two-thirds of new cars by 2032. They say the initial excitement that comes with EVs has worn off, and now they are not so sure about their future. This isn't just about the price, though. Many customers have cited other concerns, such as the high cost of owning an EV, the lack of charging infrastructure, and the long wait times at the public charging stations. There have been reports of EV owners trading in their vehicles due to issues such as reduced range when carrying heavy loads or when the weather is extreme. And then there are the reports of EV-related accidents and fatalities, which have added to the uncertainty around these vehicles. One major issue facing EVs is the lack of reliable charging infrastructure. In cold weather, EV batteries can lose up to 40% of their charge, making them impractical for daily use. Another big concern is the reliability of the charging stations themselves, with nearly half of them either overcrowded or not working properly. Governments are being blamed for this reason. But perhaps the biggest concern of all is the risk of EV fires. Lithium-ion batteries are prone to overheating, and merely scraping the car's underbody can spark explosions, posing a serious safety risk. All these challenges are why there's resistance to purchasing EVs. In contrast to the challenges facing EVs, gas cars are selling like hotcakes. The market for traditional internal combustion engine vehicles remains strong, even as EV sales struggle. Back to Ford's case, the waning in demand for Ford EVs can be attributed to two major mistakes made by the CEO, Jim Farley, when it comes to the company's EV strategy. First, he chose to end production of gas-powered vehicles in favor of government-mandated EVs. Yes, you heard that right. We'll talk about how EVs are government-mandated later in the video. The preferences of the customers weren't taken into consideration with this decision. Second, he pressured dealers to purchase the EVs at a high cost. Back in 2022, Ford set up a two-tier system for their dealers, which is called Model E Certified and Model E Certified Elite. Becoming a Model E Certified dealer was no easy feat. Ford required dealers to invest a significant amount of $500,000 to become it. To become Model E Certified Elite, dealers would need to shell out even more cash, and that's $1.2 million. Ford intended to use this money to establish rapid EV charging stations and prepare the dealership for the EV future. However, the dealers weren't satisfied with the plan. It's simply too expensive for them. Some even took legal action challenging these requirements by Ford in several states. The crux of the argument is that the company's plan interferes with the traditional franchise system, where dealers are given a certain level of autonomy and control over their businesses. In response to dealer pushbacks, Ford scaled back its EV plan significantly. The company reduced the cost of investment and relaxed the requirements for getting certified. Instead of the initial plan of having dealers install 5 Level 2 chargers, Ford now only requires 2 Level 2 chargers. In addition, Ford Certified Elite dealers will only have to install 3 EV chargers instead of 5. Ford also removed the requirement for Certified Elite dealers to add an additional Level 3 fast charger in 2026. The deadline for having these chargers in place has also been extended to mid-2024, giving dealers more time to prepare. But this update wasn't fully successful. Ford dealerships are now declining to offer electric vehicles. Over 50% of them are refusing to sell EVs this year. That is, 1,500 dealerships are opting out of embracing the electric future in 2024. But what saved the company from plummeting fully is that it allowed its dealerships to continue selling traditional internal combustion engines and hybrid cars, which are more profitable. Currently, Ford is attempting to portray this situation in a somewhat positive manner. They are claiming that EV adoption rates vary across the country, and we believe our dealers know their market best. Ford CEO Jim Farley is practically saying that despite the dealer rebellion, the majority of Americans will still have access to a Ford dealership that sells electric vehicles. It can also be assumed that he suggested that 86% of the population will be within 20 miles of a Ford EV dealer. However, dealerships are divided on whether to embrace EVs or stick to familiar territory, which is traditional vehicles, especially given the rapid changes in the automotive sales landscape. With the outlook of things, it seems the push for electric vehicles is driven by political motivations rather than market demand. The Biden administration has set ambitious goals for EV adoption in the U.S. and has been willing to take aggressive measures to actualize those goals with the looming presidential election. Currently, around 80% of the raw materials for EVs are sourced from China. But last month, China imposed a harsh ban on exports, resulting in increased EV prices in the U.S. Despite this, Biden remains undeterred and is still inclined to import materials from China as long as EV sales align with his agenda. The opposition, led by Donald Trump, on the other hand, has taken a very different stance. If elected, he says he will put an end to the push for electric vehicles and allow the public to choose the kind of car that want to buy, whether that's an EV or a gas-powered car. Jim Farley is finally responding to dealers' concerns and taking action to right the ship. He has announced that the company will be temporarily shutting down its production of F-150 Lightning trucks in Michigan, a major blow to Ford's electric vehicle ambitions. Instead, the company will focus on ramping up production of the vehicles at the Rouge Electric Vehicle Center in 2024, with a goal of producing around 1,600 trucks per week. This is a significant reduction from the previous target of 3,200 trucks per week in 2024. This situation unfolded following their Q3 earnings briefing, where they suggested reducing EV production and postponing a substantial $12 billion in investments. Apparently, only 7% of car buyers are actually buying EVs, and sales of Ford's EVs have dropped by 15% from last year. Even the popular Mustang Mach-E only saw a 42.1% sales increase, but that was from a low starting point. The E-Transit van is doing better, but it's still far from meeting Ford's initial sales targets. However, there's a major plot twist. The F-150 Lightning, Ford's flagship electric truck, is struggling to gain traction. Sales of the F-150 Lightning have dropped by 45% in Q3, a significant decline that may have more to do with the truck's appeal than with supply chain issues. Ford even slashed prices by almost $10,000 in July to boost sales, which is an unusual move for such a popular vehicle. The F-150 has been America's best-selling car for 40 years, and it's a huge source of revenue for Ford. Meanwhile, Ford is continuing to invest in electric vehicles, but they are being more cautious about how quickly they expand production. They have even put a hold on plans for a second battery plant in Kentucky. With all of this, Ford's electric vehicle business is suffering significant losses, with a $1.3 billion operating loss last quarter. The company is facing multiple challenges, including angry dealers, production cuts, and concerns about EV fires. It's like we're watching a thriller where the fate of Ford and the EV industry hangs in the balance. But what do you think? Are politicians forcing people to buy EVs? Are EVs really a scam? Let's know your thoughts in the comments section.